Hello! Check this shit out. I recorded myself yesterday playing, or loading up Alchemy, should I say, the new update for Arena, where we've got new cards and digitally erratic cards, and it's all affected historic in spite of the fact that no one wanted it. I loaded up Green and White Humans, but I wasn't recording. After I'd finished recording, I loaded up Green and White Humans, and I found that my Luminarch Aspirants have been nerfed. Obviously, we knew this was coming because they told us a couple of days earlier that Luminarch Aspirant was getting a nerf. If you didn't know, Luminarch Aspirant is a human for 2 mana that used to put a counter on a creature on your side of the board at the beginning of combat, and now does at the end of turn. The nerf is pretty big, honestly. It makes it basically unplayable in Historic. The nerf, by the way, is because of Standard, not because of any power level concerns in Historic. The fact that it affects Historic is a whole... No one wants this. No one thinks the errata should affect Historic. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to leave that to the side. I believe that the nerf should not affect Historic. All Magic the Gathering cards that exist in paper should be the same in Historic as they are in Legacy, Modern, Commander, Vintage, Pioneer, every other Magic format. Because I don't want Historic to be a different fucking game entirely. But here we are. We have digitally unique cards now, which I am personally okay with, as it's like a unique staple to this, this format. It's a thing that's pretty to boost that it doesn't have access to other formats. That I can live with. Legacy has those, for example. But when you start to change the actual cards that are in other formats, it bugs me. But let's put that to the side and just say, fuck it. The erratas are happening. Let's talk about that. So the old one is here on the left, as I said, and the new one is on the right. And the new one is nowhere near as good. For example, if you have a 1-1 in play prior to playing out your Aspirant, let's say, for example, Esper Sentinel in the Green White Humans deck that I've been playing and having a lot of fun with on the ladder, you cannot attack now into a 1-1 or a 1-2. And there's a lot of 1-2s running around. Enemy Thraben Inspectors, for example, or the Enchantment Lady, Sithis, I want to say. She's a 1-2 as well. But Aspirant putting a counter on your Esper Sentinel allows you to get in for 2 damage and attack through 1-2s, for example. It's quite a big change for that turn 1, turn 2 play, honestly. In addition to that, sometimes you'll collect a company to hit 2 things before combat. Want to hit a removal spell like a Brutal Cathar, plus the Aspirant to bump your team, or Tharley's Intent to bump your team, and so on. A lot of these plays are now all gone. So in short, Luminarch Aspirant went from being playable, but not backbreaking or too powerful, to being basically unplayable. So I logged in and I removed them from the deck. They actually showed as like red, like banned out, because they put the old version into all the decks. You had to remove them and put the new versions back in. So then I started to look for cards to replace it with. And of course, I looked at the new cards, right? So I looked at all the cards from Alchemy, the new cards coming in. And Captain Eberhard is a 2-mana 1-1 human. It's got double strike, and it has abilities that affect your spells your opponents cast and you cast, which is great because the deck has Thalia in it. The deck has Elite Spellbinder. Making people's wraths cost like 5, 6, 7, 8 mana is insanely good. So in many ways, Eberhard fits. And then Expedition Supplier, although 1 more mana, also fits, as it basically puts a counter on a human when it enters the battlefield. That counter being a utility knife, or you can put that utility knife anywhere you want, actually, thanks to the trigger. Both of these cards are pretty reasonable Magic cards. I haven't played a lot with them yet, so I can't say if they are the ones that will fit in there. But in short, I logged in, I had to remove cards from my deck, and I was given mythics and rares to craft that could fit into those slots. I was not refunded for the nerf, though. This is the thing. They're not refunding anything. Their argument is you can still play those cards in Standard, which is absolutely insane. First and foremost, I don't play Standard. I play Historic. You can check my record. I'm sure you have access to the data. Wizards, you can check this shit, right? You send us like synopsises or loadout or wraps or whatever the fuck they call them with all the stats and stuff like every few months, don't you? Of how many packs you've cracked and how many games you played on ladder and shit. You can see what I've been playing. I've been playing almost exclusively Historic. Second to that, you're saying they're still playable in Standard, but they're not playing an Alchemy Standard because Alchemy has the errata too, right? So if people just stop playing Standard when Alchemy comes along, which is probably the case, right? Because Standard sucks right now, often sucks once it gets solved. No one's actually playing it in Standard, so that's bollocks too. So you've taken cards away from me, you've not refunded me, and then I've had to go and find other cards to replace it. Now, I'm lucky enough to have a load of wild cards and cards in my collection because I'm a content creator who gets to spend money on this game as a tax-deductible thing for work, and people pay me to do that. I'm lucky. But other people will either will just grind the free-to-play method or spend their hard-earned hobby dollars on this and then get fucked by you taking things away and asking for you to then spend more money or spend your wild cards that are hard-earned on the new cards. It's quite frankly not acceptable. I'm going full fucking Karen here. I really, really am. I'm being very consumer advocate because the economy for Arena is fucking bad at the best of times, and this makes it even worse. I cannot fucking believe you aren't refunding anyone any wildcards for any of this shit. Look. This video is me saying I want my 4 wild cards as an example, right? I do believe you've been given more than that because you've nerfed, what was it, 4 cards total? Playsets of 4. I mean, that's like 16 cards. Let's just say not everyone's playing with those cards, right? Because you've nerfed the fucking Faces Haven as well, and you've buffed some other cards. I don't give a fuck. You should just be giving people wild cards as a gift, as a thank you. And don't tell me the Alchemy cards you've given, the 6 Alchemy cards, 2.5% of the Alchemy cards, as a opening up the fucking program. All the 3 boosters you've given are the equivalent of that, because they're fucking not. Because some of those cards people aren't going to fucking play with. If anything, they're the things to entice people into realizing that the digitally unique cards aren't that bad. That's the sort of thing you should be doing for a new format to entice people in. That should be an added extra. Give people their fucking wild cards. In reality, what you should be doing is introducing a dusting system or make the wild cards more frequent. There's a lot of things I really do want to happen to make the economy of Arena not such a fucking shit show, but we're not going into that right now, honestly. We're just going to say hypothetically the errata into historic was the right thing to do. You've taken stuff away from me that I have paid for, essentially, that I cannot use now in the way that I intended to use it. And therefore, ergo, hitherto, I deserve some fucking wildcards. As does every other MTG Arena player. Worst case scenario, check people's fucking play history. If they are 60-70% standard, don't refund them. Fine. Even though I still think that's scummy because Alchemy is replacing standard. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going to log a formal complaint as best I can. Submit a request. I've chosen account issues because obviously I have less wildcards than I should have. I fill out all the personal details off camera, obviously, because I don't want you all to see all my information and get doxed. Subject, you have taken wildcards away from me. You have nerfed cards that I was using in Historic, which has led to me not playing them as they are not worth playing anymore. I have then had to craft new cards to put into my deck because you have essentially artificially rotated the format again mid-set release. I would like, at minimum, my 4 wild cards, and I believe everyone else playing and watching this YouTube video would like them too. And troubleshooting done, I have moaned on Twitter and been completely ignored. I'm also attaching the wildcard image here, just so they know what the wildcard looks like. I have attached an image of a rare wildcard as to avoid confusion. That's all I've got to say. I'm going to send that off. See what sort of response I get. Wizards owe me and the rest of the people who get their cards nerfed wildcard. I know some people are going to say that I'm always being negative, or people are saying that they can still enjoy Magic and not see the negativity, but ultimately when you log in and have to spend the wildcards that are already expensive to procure to play the deck that you were enjoying midway through a fucking set release, not even as a new set comes out and changes the metagame, I think that's unacceptable. I don't think I'm being unrealistic or unreasonable in saying so. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I'll see you all soon. Ta-ta for now.